Hello everybody and welcome back for the traditional Sunday look at everything that's growing on around here in the yard and gardens. And I think since we did the tomato grow yesterday, we'll get started here in the front. What an interesting week it has been. Turns out the lawnmower's starting again just fine, so I don't know what I did there, but I still got to get that battery charger checked on. Anyway, starting at the front here, we've got the zucchini that I put into an urn. We already had that one off of it this year, so that's kind of exciting, but not quite yet enough to cover its costs. Let's take a look at it and then move into some peppers and some other stuff. We see lots of flowers on here. It's a very nice one there. That one's a little curled up. That one's going to be opening soon. A couple of lost zucchinis here and there, but it looks like we've got a new one forming there. And unless I miss my guess, I think that one's going to be a new one there. So that's good. This is doing a lot better in this shallow urn planter than I was expecting. It's not terribly deep, but I guess it's, you know, deep enough. I am occasionally tempted to go and take this back over in the other corner where I have the black zucchini plant as well, just so they can be together. But at the same time, it's doing well here. So if it ain't broke, you know, don't fix it. Moving up from here, we've got Shox's little work area. Got the coffee tree we brought outside. It has forked and we're getting some branching on there. I'm not expecting any coffee cherries off that, but the unkillable mint. We've had a couple of torrential downpours. This has ended up flooded a few times. I keep just kind of putting it over on its side. Really just need to come out here with a drill, pop a couple holes into that sucker, and it'll drain on its own. It's kind of a wild area here right now. There are some radishes there. We're thinking about maybe making this like a dill area. It gets very warm. That's supposed to be good for dill, isn't it? Strange little Virginia creeper going up the front of our house to a window that isn't there. Oh, this house has known so many questionable renovations. Anyway, peppers. My little obsession. Look at all those flower balls. Still got a couple of open flowers on this. This is the red demon out front. For those of you who aren't following closely enough to know, oh, that looks like a finished flower. Let's give it a tug. Gentle. And there's the stem that says Pepper Bomb. Excellent. So we will have peppers on this, and they should have time to ripen. Sliding over, I still haven't weeded around this poor paper lantern. But it is definitely splitting, and that is definitely a flower bomb turned downward. So that is exciting. Takes us to the Matchbox variety. I believe I was told this is essentially a stabilized super chili. So that sure makes sense with all the production we see on there. A couple of peppers are coming along. I think I see another open flower down there. Excellent. And back from there, it used to be all those tall grasses until I went a little crazy pulling them. The cabbages seem to have settled in and are doing fairly well. I mean, look at that. That compared to last year, that is phenomenal growth. And then the kale and the Swiss chard in this front row here. Turns out I really like the way this looks. And it's really handy for going outside for sandwiches or salads or whatever. Just grab a leaf from each and got a pretty decent bowl. Unfortunately though, this kale, I harvested a little bit too much from that one day in my exuberance. That's a fun word. So now I've just got a couple of chard there side by side, but still, it's all about learning. And I think this year, or I have definitely learned, this is a good spot for leafy greens, at least until we deplete what appears to be a really heavy nitrogen reserve. Because, I mean, look at how the grasses do here. Moving over from there, we've got the bush beefsteak in a bag and a couple of its dandelion friends. I'm having problems keeping enough moisture in this. I don't think it's because of the bag, though. I think it's because of the location. Gets a lot of sun here, perhaps too much for a bagged tomato. So I might yet move this over to Troll's Garden and just leave this as a pepper run. Kind of undecided. We'll see over the next couple of weeks though. It looks like right in the back here I might have a tomato ball forming, so again, if it seems to be working, Should I really be messing with it? I don't know. Sliding along the railroad ties, we've got some... Isn't that just a shame? Weeds are doing much better in that planter than that pepper ever is. That's definitely going to the compost this week. Last year's yellow scorpion, here we are. Still not falling off and dying. So it lives, it carries on. The 2016 Sand Dollar. Thought the other day I saw the beginning of flower balls in here. And I tried to check, because Charles did an update. If you haven't seen the update on Charles P's pepper garden today, you really should check that out. But he did an update, and he's got some of those Brazilian starfish growing. And I didn't get a close enough look at the actual pepper. But I am really looking forward to seeing what he harvests from that, so that I can compare them. Pretty sure I have a mislabeled pepper plant there. So I never could find Sand Dollar pepper seeds for sale anywhere. Oh, that habanero. That sucker's definitely destined for the compost. It's the other hot Portugal. Yeah. Pepper starts. What a waste of money for me. Pepper seeds. It's the ahi calabaza. This thing's just been busting out all over the place. Very happy to be outside. Lots of new growth. Lots of flower balls starting at the top there. That one will be open soon. This one is open. Kind of looks like it might have already been mucked about with by a bee. So I think we'll see a pepper bomb on that in the next week or two. Very exciting. And the branches are starting to really get kind of serious about forking out here. This is going to be a big, beautiful plant. Might have chosen too small of a planter for that. In the world of beautiful ahis, the ahi ahuchapan, we got more open flowers on this. I was warned about this, and I'm not at all upset. Oh, careful, it's a really productive pepper. Yeah, it is. This is amazing. If you get an opportunity to grow one of these peppers, I recommend it. It's not supposed to be super hot, and we'll find out for sure when one of these goes to that kind of carroty orange that we're waiting for. I suspect it will be one of these two peppers on the outsides here. That one maybe, but that one and that one are my big guesses. Followed maybe by that one. But there are so many just little starts on here. Can't wait to find out how that works as a salt, as a spice. You know what works incredibly well as a spice though? Is these El Oro de Ecuadors. And wow, just every day I come out here and I look at this plant and I find new peppers everywhere, and peppers that have clearly been on there for a while. Sorry, the neighbors are working on their house, so it is what it is. Little tiny peppers, brand new open flowers, basic pepper bombs, flowers just starting to form. This thing is going crazy. So exciting. You gotta love it when the last surviving seed produces so well. So moving around, that brings us to these monster Saskatoon berry bushes out front. As you can tell, I have offended the birds, but I chased them out of here because it's that time of year where it's fierce competition. They'll take them at this red stage, which is, it's edible, but it's not the best in my opinion. I'm hoping we can find a nice purple one. See this here? It's a little closer to what we're looking for. But there must be over 1,000 little berries on this thing, right? So I don't mind sharing with the birds. I just do want to get the lion's share is all. I found a really nice purple one the other day. And of course just popped it into my mouth instead of sharing it with everyone, but it is what it is. That one's pretty close. Came off nice and easy. Generally looking for a darker purple than this though. More like, well, more like we saw on the Hascat berries, really. But it is a race, and those robins are fiercely competitive. Got to come out here with two of us, because otherwise they just hop to the other side of the bush. Like, I'm not afraid of you. Might start putting some netting over this one of these days though. A full harvest of these things would be insane. I mean, just look at all of the red in there. It's beautiful. I love Saskatoons. So Shocks and I are both now on the other side of this berry bush. And you see how little that robin cares? You thieving little bugger.
He's downing them.
Bugger. And the worst part is, I think those robins are feeding their young with our Saskatoon berries, so the next generation's gonna grow up with a taste for them too. Isn't that great? So this is one of the robin's nests that is like basically right on top of our house. I mentioned the other day we kind of can't use our side door anymore. There's the door, there's the nest. If we come out that door, that little beak comes at us at like 150 miles an hour. So yes, not cool. But there are at least 2 young in there that Shocks has seen. So we leave them for now, and I'm going to make that space a little more inaccessible by next spring. Used to be a door on the front here, used to be a window on the side. I think those things can go back. Nice to see this crate with some soil in there. No plants yet. Gus is still down in the aquaponic garden. Not actually in it, but just kind of hanging out with his buddies. So we're probably going to put Gus in the middle of all this, and then I think I have 2 or 3 packets of Viking asparagus seed. I'm just going to sprinkle them kind of willy-nilly on there, really. And what sprouts, sprouts, and what doesn't, doesn't. And if nothing sprouts, well, we can always get roots for next year. So, yes, this is going to be our little asparagus bin. And one of the logs we've kept there is kind of a stepping station, bit of a workout. A little lower at that end, a little higher at this end, all depends on what you need at the time. Here's some of the maters we didn't get to yesterday. This is the Tumbling Tom Reds, I believe. The weight of that, and you can tell it's from the tomatoes themselves. And we've got another nice big cluster up here. Another nice cluster down here. Yeah, Tumbling Tom Reds. Wasn't expecting anything from this, but look at all the flowers. Is this what they mean by growing gangbusters? 'Cause wow. Here we have our first red currant of the year. Can always tell a gardener, hey baby, I has a present for you. I think she found another one.
I have one for you too.
Aw, I'll trade you.
Well, they're both half rotten though.
Aw.
Cheers.
Bummer. Grow. So I guess we'll have to be a little more careful with these, but that's definitely more fruit production than we've seen in past years from the red currant. Bless you. But for a $4 end of season investment that we dragged halfway across the country, I'll give it time. It's earned the right to a little time. Our little raised swale back here, these tomatoes seem to be settling in a little bit better. A little more visible to the naked eye, still not showing up very well on the camera except for the 2 on the ends. But that is going to be fabulous, I think, when it's a little further along. I was talking with Shocks about using some chunks of the logs to kind of define the edge instead of sod, because this is the one we've got all the wood in the base of, and that just seemed kind of appropriate. So I'm going to fiddle about with that probably sometime next week. We'll see how that looks. Might keep it as an idea, might toss it, you never really know. Then here we have the gooseberry. For all the flower starts that it had on it, the wind, the birds, the various issues have left me not too many of these nice little berries on here, but there are still a couple. These are not ripe. I know there are a few varieties that are ripe green, but these do go towards the kind of purpley red pictured way down there on its tag. We only really got 1 each last year. If we get 2 each this year, that's an improvement, you know, hopefully 4 each next year. And so it grows, right? It's permaculture. It's long-term garden investments. This is what I was talking about the other day. I'm always looking at the robins like, what do you got in your mouth? That better be a grub. Go find me what looks like hornworms. See, that was one coming right out of the tower here. This is another Virginia creeper, as I understand it. And this, from what I can tell, used to be a windmill that powered a pump long time ago. Now it is just a bird nest stand and a Virginia creeper tower. But I'm toying with the idea of cutting all this down, because If you look way up front by the hummingbird feeder in Shox's fairy garden, that large tree stump is also covered with the Virginia creeper, and we also have it in front of that not a window. So I'm thinking about tearing this down and maybe planting grapes here. So grapes in the soil hopefully will do better than the ones in the container did. And you know, it can climb up. We can enjoy the grapes that come out of the bottom. The birds can take the grapes off the top, and hopefully we can get along. Otherwise, I'm thinking about completely taking it down and putting my own dang windmill up on there. It's always kind of breezy. And the higher up you go, the breezier it gets. Grow some delightful weed patches here though. I guess in coming years we may be able to try growing weed here, but not quite yet. It's fascinating getting all the comments and responses on that as this whole legalization thing mucks along. As far as growing that on the channel though, folks, you're going to have to wait and find out what goes on for, like I say, the legalities of it. Because while it's still a gray area and YouTube is doing all of its funky things, I can't afford to take the chance. This is my living, right? So this ahi pennix coming along nicely. Definitely a much different shape to these pods that I'm seeing downstairs. And that looks like, that's almost pre-stinger formation there, which scares me a little bit, because I don't remember the ahi pennix being that hot. Take another look at this one here. Don't have any peppers bursting out on this. We just took a look at these peppers on Friday, so I mean there's not a lot that has changed. This is the Sugar Rush Red. That is so getting ready to bust open for me. The Sugar Rush Peach. I'm going to move these things aside. We can see the stick that indicates pepper bum, pepper bum, pepper bum, big open flower, big open flower. Super excited. Oh my goodness, so excited. Let's see, that hot lemon's coming along nicely. Really nothing opening up on there, although we do have more flower buds kind of bending over and downwards. So that does indicate to me anyway that they'll be opening soon. A little patch of sand dollars here. Got, I believe that's the Sugar Rush Peach there, which seems to have a daddy long legs type spider on there, so I'm just going to leave it be. But we have a few flower buds that are pointing downward, so again, I'm hoping to see open flowers on there soon. Hopefully even little pepper bums. Oh, this was the cream. I guess the other one was the peach. Well, that's my bad then. Over here, that one red demon, well there's two. I dare say that one hardly counts though. But that one there is worth looking at too before we check out the garden patches. Because, much as predicted, that flower opened up, fell off, and we have our first red demon pepper bum. Fan-flippin-tastic. So while we're down on our knees, we can take a look at the corn. Or the corn. That's corn. That's carrots. I've been gardening long enough that I should know this by now. Anyway, we'll take a look at the carrots, where I did start laying down some grass mulch along the side. Nitrogen is for upward growth, so I don't think I care if I'm limiting that in the carrot patch. I want downward growth. I want big, fat, orange roots full of delicious flavor. So, yeah, I'm mulching that. I like the look of it better anyway. I mean, you see the one row there and then the middle with all the weeds. That's nasty. Ends up looking like the corn patch. The real corn patch. I do need to come through here and pull out the unintentionals. And I'm still thinking I kind of want to transplant some of these clusters so that they're just individual corn plantings. The point of this year was to give each plant plenty of space, because in the past I have been really bad about crowding my corn plants. So I'm thinking this kind of goes contrary to that. And I've still got a couple of open patches here in the middle that are all just dandelions and stuff. I mean, that one corn there, but so if I could spread them out a little bit, wouldn't that also improve pollination and overall production? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Anyway, the dandelion's got to go in here. One thing I noticed, and I'm not sure if I shared or not though, here we have a volunteer tomato, Manitoba style. I have no idea what that fell from, or in which of the past 2 years, because I grew tomatoes here 2 years in a row, I think. it actually, you know, came from. So again, I just don't have a clue. But I figure if it's prepared to winter outside, actually grow properly as a volunteer, I'm going to try and let it grow, even though it's in the corn patch, and I'm going to try and save some seeds from it. Just now, as I'm standing here talking, I see this, which certainly appears to be another tomato volunteer. Now the leaf structure looks really, really similar, so I might only let one of those live. Won't really know until I come through here to do some weeding. But we can also see the few peas that did finally pop up are doing quite well, growing in amongst the corn. So that is going to be interesting too, to see how that develops over the season. It's climber. It's not necessarily the beans, but it's a climber. So yeah, might work, might not. Such is life in JT's garden, isn't it? Like, I really wasn't expecting this to work all that well. And yet, you know, if you watched yesterday's update, you saw just how many flowers and tomatoes are on those 3 plants. That's delightful. Running through the comments this morning, there was a question about the walking onions, which is perfectly fair. So I've been mentioning them the last couple years. I will step back here and you can see I attempted to do some weeding. And what I think happened is I killed the vast majority of the onions that were here. They weren't prepared to deal with the sun after basically being so sheltered. Here we can see a lot of this is what was growing when I did the weeding, this is what's grown since. Clearly, you know, this is a much more structurally sound plant. So I kind of stopped weeding because I don't want to throw everything else back. The onions do appear to be growing in amongst all this tall grass. All of these little white things that we see are the beginnings of those delicious little pearl onions. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave well enough alone. However, in the future, I definitely need to be more on top of weeding this. Alright, it says my battery's dying. I guess I need to take a break, charge it up, and we're going to hope the rain doesn't come while I'm doing that. Well, as Queen sang, the show must go on, so instead of wind today, you get to hear rain and hail. But I got a little juice in the camera, so I figured we'd carry on looking at what's growing on in the garden here, because after all, it's Sunday. So, here we have the radish bed that has kind of started to bolt. Curious to hear popular opinion on eating the flowering heads of radishes. I munched on one earlier. It's an interesting flavor. I'm not really sure I can make use of it though. But what do you guys think? Should I pull it and start a fresh batch? Because they're kind of a short-term crop, doesn't take long, right? Or should I, you know, just hack them down and hope that they focus on the roots again? What does one do with bolting radishes? Beside that here, we've got the leftovers bed, as I lovingly refer to this. Did you hear that? Oh, good thunder. Got the straight 8 cucumber up in the corner there. It's finally starting to produce some flowers. Might just get something out of that. In the past years, the straight 8 variety has done a pretty good job of surprising me. All of a sudden, there's this like 8-inch cucumber on it, and it's like, wow, where the heck did you come from? I was looking at you yesterday, didn't see anything. We see the black zucchini kind of spreading out. I was thinking about bringing that other one over in the urn so that the two could like cross-pollinate. I don't know if that's a good thing, bad thing. I don't have a lot of a zucchini experience. But we can see the chard, and that cabbage there is an early... Oh, I'm so glad I'm surrounded by things that are like 50 feet taller than me. Okay, so that is an early Copenhagen cabbage there. It's coming along nicely, but we do have a bit of that... well, Swiss cheesing, as it was referred to by someone earlier today, from those brassica moths. But for the most part, considering how many cabbage crops I'm growing, especially right here, things are looking pretty good. These interspersed Brussels sprouts seem to be coming along fairly well. I haven't over-harvested these kale, so they're doing all right. Things are looking good. Apparently this doesn't drain quite fast enough, but there are drainage holes of that in the bottom of that, so it'll be okay in the long run. The potato tomato bed, thunder in the background. We have, Shocks pointed these out earlier, Little green starting, and there's a second plant back there has some as well. So that is wonderful. I really expected nothing out of this. Anything at all, always a bonus. The little garden sage is coming along nicely. Might transplant that out front for Shucks' fairy garden though. She wanted a sage up there, and it gets more sun up there anyway. This is the ahi pineapple pepper and its accompanying weed. Looks like a dandelion perhaps. Seems to be doing alright. Don't know if we're going to see any flowers off of that this year. And this is the more eggplanty than a pepper sprout. I'm still leaning towards eggplant. Won't really know until we see some flowers, and then for sure when we see some sort of fruit. But if it is an eggplant, probably won't see fruit. The only thing growing in this mess of weeds back here is like 3 lonely little beans. It's the one burgundy bean there. I moved its seed packet over to where it is, and they don't show up very well. A little lightning flash there. But a couple of bean plants in there. Struggling. I'll clean up around them, but I want to leave most of this because it's kind of an example of what grows wild here. Oh, isn't that crazy? It's one of the things I love about being out here is the storms. Oh my. Like I've said before, I'll be honest, I'm man enough to admit it. The first few of them out here kind of scared the bugger out of me. But you know, they took the power with them. There was a strike that was just right in the back field. And that one was really close though. Less than 2 seconds between the flash of the lightning and the rumble of the thunder. So I should probably wrap it up out here. We took a look at the grove yesterday. Things are doing really well, surprisingly well. There's that double planting of the bush beefsteak in the cage there. I'm not expecting much from, but when you compare that, you know, 1 out of so many, I'll take it. I'll take it, and I'll run downstairs to the dungeon where it's not raining, lightning, or thundering. Lightning, something wrong with that one there, I think. But anyway, yes, better weather conditions down in the dungeon. Alright, so back inside in a more controlled environment here. Ooh, I should just stop touching things. For the most part, that lemon seems to be doing okay. We do have some sort of deficiency going on. Probably should have turned this a little while ago. But still growing. I haven't killed it off yet. I've killed an awful lot of lemon seedlings and future trees there. This particular coffee plant seems to be doing fine. What's interesting is what's happened to the pitcher plant since it's moved under these LEDs. Fresh pitcher forming there, fresh pitcher forming there. Good size on a pitcher forming there. Way off on the end we might have one forming just beyond my funky little Dieffenbachia there. But here I thought this thing was dead. That was my one last ditch. And look at it grow. That is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic indeed. Okay. Brings us to the fluorescent light table. The oregano's probably the happiest thing down here. This poor little asparagus. This is going to get transplanted out into that John Deere tote. Well, shipping crate really. Got a few peppers that I left in here. That poor thing. They're just barely surviving. I mean, that's kind of why I took those other ones outside. I figure they've got a better chance out there. And then we've got all the spider plants and the Astrid peps. Most of those seem to be doing fairly well. So watch your eyes, because that takes us to the fish tank and then up to the aquaponics. In the fish tank you can see one of my latest natural feeding efforts. I have quite a nice salad floating in there right now. Some very different and assorted sizes of dandelion cuttings. For the most part, I think what we see floating here is the stuff that is too large. I minced up some that was just really tiny, shredded might even be a better word for it. And I don't seem to see that floating or attached to the pump. So, I figured what the heck. if it's going to grow and if they'll eat it, I'll use it as a free food source. Why not? Which brings us to the crazy light and the aquaponic ahi panic. Still fighting against the aphids in here. I think these monster flies might have something to do with it. I almost suspect they're farming the aphids much like ants do. So I have started throwing up fly tape strips. I don't see anybody caught on it yet, but I'm hoping that will change. I am noticing in the back of the pepper we have some smaller ones forming. So that is good. It's not just that one branch. As amusing as that was a little weird. But looking at that one branch, all of these peppers seem to be doing that same wide, skinny, wide, skinny. And that monster, there's the largest one still. Not good. Anywho, still looking for some signs of color on that. I believe the panic goes red when it's ready. Don't think last year's peppers looked quite like that though. Fascinating. But that's pretty much how she's growing. Got the mint here, what a surprise, doing amazingly well. Got one of the Ahi Fantasy seedlings that I'm seriously toying with the idea of putting it in here. I'm letting it adjust to the light. We're going to see how it does with that over a couple of weeks. Nothing on the table seems to be living, so if I can keep this sucker alive and maybe have it do whatever this is doing, then great, you know. This dark opal basil, it's not looking like a happy plant. Some of the newest growth on here is not looking as bad. I have some hope for that still. Not so sure about the sweet Genovese basil. It's growing, but it's not happy, so we shall see. And then down here we have the sage that was on the table. Recently transplanted this into the aquaponics. I think it was like 2 days ago. So it really hasn't had enough time to let us know if it's going to live or die. But in the past, sage has done really well for me in aquaponics, so I'm really, really hopeful. But that kind of defines the state of my garden in general. Hasn't done well in the past, but I'm really, really hopeful. And a search for decent light. Sorry guys, there just isn't any down here. I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up for the week. And yeah, we are going to still continue to give Monday a miss. Although, I'm starting to wonder how long that's going to last. Because, you know, I've got a lot of mechanical maintenance I've got to do. That all starts with M. Mechanical maintenance Monday. Just kind of, yeah, I don't know. But this week, anyway, I'm going to take Monday to myself and fart around with that lawnmower. I've got a few things I want to get done on it. Hopefully, I'm going to take off that deck. Thanks to Brother Troll for the advice. Hopefully, I'll be able to sharpen up those blades. Thank you very much to you for sending me that angle grinder. That's going to be fantastic. You can always speak up in the comments, you know, if you want people to know who you are. But otherwise, you haven't said so to me, so I just don't know. Yeah, I will see you guys, I guess, on Tuesday, assuming my internet continues to work, with a Troll Garden update and whatever else we end up doing on Tuesday. Alright, take care, everybody. Oh yeah, Happy Canada Day.